I remember the moment the words hit me like a hurricane. "You're not living up to our expectations." It was a simple sentence, but it packed a punch stronger than any physical blow I'd ever felt. I was sitting at the kitchen table, my textbooks open but my mind miles away, and my parents' eyes bore into me like they were trying to carve out a version of myself that didn't exist. Growing up, my parents always painted a vivid picture of what my future should look like: a stable job, a respectable career, a life that mirrored their sacrifices. But in that picture, there was no room for my messy dreams or my quiet rebellions. It felt like I was trying to fit a square peg into a round hole, and every attempt left me more exhausted. The pressure started gradually, little remarks here and there about grades, about what my friends were doing, about how I should be more focused. At first, I brushed it off, thinking it was just parental concern. But as the years went by, those concerns morphed into demands, and demands into ultimatums. One evening, after a particularly hard day at school, I came home hoping for some relief. Instead, I was met with my parents, disappointed faces, and a lecture about responsibility. Their voices were calm, but the sting of their words cut deep. I wanted to tell them how suffocated I felt, but the words got stuck in my throat. School was supposed to be my safe haven, a place to explore and grow. Yet, every test score felt like a scoreboard where I was constantly losing. I wasn't just failing in their eyes, I was failing myself. The weight of expectations made every achievement feel hollow, every mistake catastrophic. My friends seemed to carry their parents' hopes with a lighter step. They talked about their futures with excitement, while I felt trapped in a script I never auditioned for. Each conversation about college plans and career paths felt like a reminder that I was running out of time to become the person they wanted me to be. There were nights I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if I was the only one feeling this way. I wanted to scream, to break free, but the fear of disappointing them was a chain that held me tight. The silence in my room was deafening, filled with all the things I wished I could say. One pivotal day, I found myself standing at a crossroads. My parents had scheduled yet another meeting with a career counselor, convinced it would set me straight. But inside, I knew I needed to carve my own path, even if it meant walking alone for a while. I tried to explain how their pressure made me feel invisible, like my dreams were just shadows beneath their expectations. They listened, but their faces told me they didn't fully understand. It was like speaking two different languages, both wanting connection, but missing the translation. The tension between us grew, a silent storm brewing in every interaction. Dinner conversations became battlegrounds, and the comfort of home turned into a minefield of unspoken resentments. I felt like a stranger in my own family, caught in a tug-of-war between love and obligation. Schoolwork became both my refuge and my prison. I doubled down, hoping that excelling would earn their approval, but instead, it only raised the bar higher. Every success was met with "good, but can you do better?" until I stopped celebrating my wins altogether. I started hiding parts of myself, my passions, my fears, even my failures. It was easier to wear a mask of compliance than to face the disappointment in their eyes. But the mask grew heavy, and beneath it, I was slowly unraveling. Then came the day I finally broke down during a family dinner. The dam of my bottled-up emotions burst forth, and I spoke words I'd kept locked inside for years. I told them about the pressure, the pain, and the fear of losing myself. For a moment, the room was silent, as if time had paused. Their silence was not the understanding I craved. Instead, it felt like a wall, cold and unyielding. They told me they only wanted the best for me, that their dreams were rooted in love. But love wrapped in expectations felt like a cage, and I was desperate for a key. I started seeking support outside my family, friends, teachers, even a counselor. Sharing my story with others helped me see that I wasn't alone, that my feelings were valid. Slowly, I began to build a small but sturdy bridge between what I wanted and what they expected. One afternoon, I sat down with a notebook and wrote out my own definition of success. It was messy and imperfect, filled with uncertainties and hopes. For the first time, I allowed myself the freedom to dream without apology or fear. Taking that step felt both terrifying and liberating. I knew the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, misunderstandings, and perhaps even heartbreak. But I also knew that living someone else's dream was no longer an option. My parents' expectations hadn't vanished overnight. Sometimes they still echo in my mind, whispering doubts and fears. But now I have a voice to answer back, a voice that says, "I am more than what you want me to be." Each day brings new battles and small victories. There are moments of connection with my parents where understanding flickers like a fragile candle in the dark. And there are moments of distance where the old pressures rise like waves, threatening to pull me under. Through it all, I'm learning that the hardest part isn't fighting the expectations. It's holding on to the hope that love can grow beyond conditions, that family can evolve, and that I can find peace in being unapologetically myself. Sometimes I wonder what it would be like if they could see the world through my eyes, not just the version of me they imagined, but the real, flawed, passionate person I am. Would they still love me just the same? The nights still come with their share of doubt and loneliness. I lie awake, heart pounding, questioning if I'm strong enough to keep pushing forward. But then I remember the small moments of joy, writing, laughing with friends, dreaming, and they fuel me. I don't have all the answers, and I'm not sure what the future holds, but I'm beginning to understand that the pressure to conform is not my burden to carry alone. It's a shared journey, one that requires patience, courage, and a willingness to listen. In the end, maybe the real challenge isn't just about choosing a career or meeting expectations. It's about finding the space where love and individuality can coexist, a place where I can breathe freely without fear of judgment. So here I am, writing this story not because I have it all figured out, but because I'm still fighting to be heard, to be understood, and to be free. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough for now. The kitchen table where it all began still holds the echoes of those intense conversations. But now, it also holds my sketches, my journal, and my dreams, messy, hopeful, and fiercely mine. Sometimes, when the pressure feels overwhelming, I close my eyes and imagine a future where my parents and I stand side by side, not as judge and judged, but as two souls learning to accept each other's imperfect truths. It's a journey without a clear map or timeline, filled with detours and unexpected lessons. But every step brings me closer to the person I'm meant to be, even if that path is different from what anyone expected. And so the story continues, not with a neat ending, but with a promise to keep speaking, to keep dreaming, and to keep fighting for a life that feels true, even when it's hard. Because parental pressure wasn't in the job description of growing up, but learning to navigate it has become one of my toughest challenges and maybe my greatest lesson. The nights are still long and the doubts still whisper, but I'm learning to listen to my own voice above the noise. It's a voice that's raw, uncertain, but undeniably mine. Sometimes all it takes is one small act of courage, a conversation, a confession, a moment of vulnerability to start breaking down walls that seemed unshakable. I've realized that love isn't about control or conditions. It's about acceptance, even when the path you choose isn't the one others imagined for you. So when the pressure mounts and the world feels heavy, I remind myself that my worth isn't measured by grades, jobs, or accolades. It's measured by the courage to be myself. And in that courage, I find a quiet rebellion, a refusal to let others dictate my value or my future. This story isn't just mine. It belongs to anyone who's ever felt crushed under the weight of expectations, who's ever wished for freedom to just be. It's for the quiet warriors fighting battles behind closed doors, for the dreamers who dare to imagine a different life. And it's for the parents, too, who love fiercely but sometimes forget that love needs room to breathe and grow. Maybe one day we'll all find a way to rewrite the script, to build bridges instead of walls, to listen instead of judge. Until then, I'll keep telling my story, hoping it sparks a conversation, a connection, a moment of understanding. Because sometimes sharing our struggles is the first step toward healing. And maybe, just maybe, it's how we start to break free. The pages of my journal are filled with questions, doubts, hopes, and dreams, each one a thread in the tapestry of my unfolding story. It's messy, imperfect, and sometimes painful, but it's real. And that's what makes it worth telling. Every morning, I face the mirror and remind myself that I'm enough, even when the world tries to tell me otherwise. It's not always easy. Some days, the pressure feels like a storm threatening to tear me apart. But other days, I find moments of peace, quiet breaths, kind words from friends, the glow of a sunset reminding me there's beauty beyond struggle. I'm learning to hold both the pain and the joy, the fear and the hope, the doubts and the dreams. And in that balance, I'm discovering who I truly am. Sometimes I catch my parents watching me, their expressions softer, less rigid. Maybe they're beginning to see me, not just the image they hoped for, but the person I am. It's a slow dance, this growing understanding, filled with missteps and breakthroughs. But it's a dance worth learning. I don't know what the future holds, but I'm starting to trust that it will be mine to shape. No longer just a reflection of their hopes, but a reflection of my own heart. And that makes all the difference. So to anyone feeling crushed by expectations, know this: you are not alone. Your dreams matter, your voice matters, and your journey matters. Sometimes, the hardest battles lead to the most beautiful victories. And sometimes, the greatest freedom comes from simply choosing to be yourself. The story isn't over yet, far from it. But with every step I take, I'm writing a new chapter, one filled with courage, hope, and the fierce determination to live life on my own terms. And maybe, just maybe, that's the greatest gift I can give myself. The night sky outside my window is dark, but full of stars, reminders that even in the darkest times, light exists. I reach for that light, holding it close as I navigate the twists and turns ahead. Because this journey is mine, messy and uncertain as it may be. And I'm ready to keep walking it, one brave step at a time. Parental pressure wasn't in the job description of growing up, but learning to handle it has become part of my story, a story still being written, with all its flaws and beauty intact. And that's okay.